1959, deep in the heart of the northern Ural Mountains, a group of 9 experienced hikers, led by the charismatic and determined Igor Dyatlov, set out on a daring winter expedition to reach the summit of Mount Oterten. They were an elite group, seasoned, well-prepared, and full of life. But as they ventured deeper into the wilderness, they were walking toward an event that would baffle investigators and historians for over 60 years. When the search party finally located their camp on the bleak, windswept slopes of Kolatsyakal, the Mountain of the Dead, they were met with a sight that defied all human logic. The tent was sliced open, not from the outside, but from within, with knives. Inside, the searchers found the group's belongings, their boots, their warm clothing, and their journals left exactly where they were placed. But the hikers were gone. They had fled into the night, in temperatures plummeting to minus 30 degrees Celsius, many of them barefoot and wearing only their nightclothes. Why would a group of trained survivalists, people who knew the mountains better than anyone, abandon their only source of shelter in such a lethal environment? This was not an act of rational people. This was an act of pure, unadulterated primal terror. They didn't just walk away. They ran for their lives. The discovery of the bodies only deepened the nightmare. They were found scattered across the mountainside some miles apart. Some had died of simple hypothermia, but others had suffered traumatic injuries that experts would later compare to the force of a high-speed car crash. Their ribs were crushed, their skulls were fractured, and there were signs of internal hemorrhage. Yet strangely, there was not a single bruise or scratch on their skin. It was as if their bodies were broken from within by an impossible force, and the anomalies didn't stop there. Some of the victims were found missing their tongues, eyes, and parts of their lips. Several pieces of clothing retrieved from the site, specifically their sweaters and trousers, showed undeniable traces of high-level radiation, a detail that the Soviet authorities were suspiciously quick to downplay and bury. What kind of accident leaves a group of hikers radiated and physically crushed, yet lacking any external marks? What really happened on that cursed slope? The official Soviet investigation, conducted in a rush, concluded that an irresistible natural force was to blame, but that answer left a gaping hole in history. Was it a freak avalanche, a natural phenomenon that happens so rarely it defies documentation? Critics argue an avalanche could not account for the specific injuries or the radioactive signatures. So, is there something more sinister at play? Could it have been a top-secret military experiment? Locals reported seeing strange, glowing fireballs moving through the sky that night, a phenomenon seen in that region multiple times since. Could the hikers have stumbled upon a testing ground for weapons the state desperately wanted to keep hidden? Some researchers point to infrasound, low-frequency vibrations created by the wind against the mountain peaks. This sound is invisible to the human ear, but it can trigger uncontrollable panic, nausea, and terrifying hallucinations in the human brain, potentially driving them to cut their way out of their own tent in a desperate, mindless flight. We must also look at the diaries recovered from the scene. The last entries are filled with optimism, with talk of the beauty of the landscape and the excitement of the challenge ahead. There was no mention of any internal conflict, no sickness, and no fear. They went to sleep as friends and colleagues, and hours later, they were gone. How does a group so well-knit fall apart so quickly? Decades have passed. The files have been opened and closed, and the Mountain of the Dead remains silent. We are left with fragments of diaries, ghostly photographs, and a mystery that keeps us awake at night. Are we looking at a tragic combination of natural forces, or are there secrets buried in that snow that we were never meant to uncover? Every year, new investigators visit the site, yet the mountains refuse to give up their ghosts. What do you think is the truth behind the Dyatlov Pass incident? Was it nature's fury, a cover-up for a classified experiment, or something beyond our understanding? The more we look, the more questions emerge. Do you believe the official reports, or are they hiding the truth? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Mystery Files so we can continue to dig for the truth together.